Today I would like to show you something that you will never see in concert halls. You will never experience this during concerts, where we always hear and see the perfect version of very well prepared piece. But I would like to show you the process of learning, practicing, polishing, mastering a piece of music. Today I chose the piece that I'm actually now preparing for my concerts, which I will have in Japan at the beginning of October. And I chose a very beautiful Chopin's Nocturne in E flat major, Opus 55 number 2. Beloved nocturne of many music lovers and Chopin lovers. And also one of my favorite nocturnes. A very demanding nocturne, but maybe some of you, when you listen to this nocturne, maybe you think, oh, it's slow, it's beautiful, it's probably easy, and the pianists don't need a lot of time to practice it, to master it. This is totally wrong. Chopin's nocturnes in general are so demanding, especially when we know what we want, when we demand from ourselves, and when we want to produce the almost perfect version of this music. And I think it's worth it. So today I will show you how I approach such a piece of music and how I practice it and how this process looks. I hope that this video will be interesting and maybe motivating and maybe inspiring for many of you, or maybe if you play this nocturne, maybe you can also find something interesting for yourself. So, of course, I already made a very thorough, detailed analysis of this piece of music, which is published on my YouTube channel. You can find it. You can just simply write Chopin Nocturne Opus 55 and my name, Niemczuk. Then you will get analysis in English with many subtitles also possible. So this is already done. But now what I have to do when I prepare the piece to play it in public, indeed I had never played it in public before, is first of all I'm memorizing. This is the very first thing I'm doing. Of course, I played it already from the score, I made analysis, but now when I prepare, I have to memorize it. And I care very much for memorizing each hand separately, because it saves my nerves when I play in public. When I know every hand separately as if it's a different person, I consider my hands as two different people. I don't know, cello and violin, or whatever. Then I know, I'm sure that I know the piece, and I feel very comfortable, and I can do in the piece everything I want. If I'm not secure with my memory, then it's always very stressful and not so comfortable to perform it in public. So of course I will not be memorizing too long together with you, because it takes a lot of time. Actually, I think for me to memorize this nocturne, I would need maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe a little more to put it deeper into my memory, maybe up to 1 week. Depends on how many hours I would spend in doing this only. Of course, this is not my only piece, the only piece that I'm preparing now, so it's not that I practice only nocturne in the whole day, of course not. But usually I divide the piece into small phrases, and I work on each phrase separately. So let's start. First of all, just to play a little how it sounds. Of course, probably you know the Nocturne already, but let's just play the first phrase. And first of all, we focus on this. I will focus on this first. Of course, right hand is the most important, but that's why I start from the left hand. Especially to memorize, in this nocturne, left hand is not easy, and to memorize left hand is absolutely a must. Which is actually there, it's not that difficult if we approach the left hand the same way that Chopin approached it when he was composing it. What I mean is simply thinking harmonically. So it saves a lot of time when a pianist, a musician, knows very well harmony, chords and everything, all the musical language. Well, of course, I mean, maybe for now what I'm saying is very obvious, but I don't know who is listening to me. So I want to really emphasize this. If we know harmony very well, memorizing and playing, it's much easier. So of course I take left hand alone, but of course I'm not memorizing every single note separately, because that would be like you would need to memorize the whole speech and you memorize every single letter one after another. Stupid, of course stupid. So it's much easier when I know that, for example, the first 6 notes are one chord. 7th chord with one note, which is the suspended note. And this is for me, just look at this. Instead of memorizing 6 notes, I just memorize one word. The word is the name of the chord. And then, well, of course, I'm repeating this a few times. I put it in my head and in my short-term memory. And then I continue with the next chord, which is also very easy, because another, again, 6 notes, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They also produce one chord only. That's the easiest way to memorize. Then I put them together, then I go further, and I put them together, and then I go further. So that's how I do it, and when my brain works very well, then it is quite a fast process. Of course, I have to forget it a few times, and then relearn it a few times, and then it is forever in my head. But this is not the end of the work, it's just the beginning, only memorization. Then what I'm doing is I'm working on left hand alone, trying to make this accompaniment, because it is in fact accompaniment, as beautiful as I can. And of course, how I do it? Well, I'm shaping this beautiful left hand melody. You know, usually we don't hear this accompaniment when we listen to the nocturne. When we listen to this nocturne, we hear the right hand. But it doesn't mean that the left hand is not important. On the contrary, left hand is even more important, because left hand, even if we don't hear so much or we don't pay attention to it, can create a lot of beauty. Especially when we are shaping the energy of these notes. So for example, I would like to reach this note with a little bit curve. And then release the tension. And then what I'm practicing is, because I'm using different touch on every single note. Now, different color. This is very important. The second 12 notes that we have have different colors. So I have to change the touch again. going up and going down, and going up and going down, like heart is beating. And I then more. This is a very beautiful color here. Very dark, mysterious. So that's how I practice, and I demand for myself a perfect legato, perfect shaping, always the direction. We always need to have the direction. This beautiful color. And we are back at the beginning. This is the same phrase again. Try to make it, I play it through many times, try to make it as beautiful as possible, enjoy it, fall in love with this, so that I'm very, very happy with colors, with changing the touch, with the direction, with legato, with pedal, and so on. And then I can focus on the right hand. Right hand, which actually has a love duet, like in the opera. I was talking about that in my analysis about this piece. If you haven't watched it yet, please do so. Because this is the main difficulty, and of course a typical Chopin difficulty: beautiful legato, connecting notes, and making the piano sound as if it's an opera singer. This is what I'm doing actually. When I practice the left hand, to inspire myself more, I imagine the fantastic cellist. And I imagine how the cellist would play. But then, when I play the right hand, I imagine a soprano, a great singer. And here we have I have the first challenge. This is forte, we need to have forte but a beautiful sound. And then we have this trill, and it's very difficult not to make an accent on this trill, because if we do, then it's immediately ugly, because we don't have the legato. The problem is that this B flat is disappearing. So I have to connect the second note with the ending of the first note, which makes the second note sounds much softer. But then, thanks God, Chopin was very intelligent and he made a trill. He gave us the trill. In this trill we can make a crescendo. So and this is the first thing I'm practicing. Well, I don't like the trill yet, but then one more time, and I repeat. many times. And when I'm satisfied with this, it's not the end of work. I repeat it 10 times, 20 times, so that I get it deeply inside myself. But let's continue now. Listen, 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 listen. Perfect legato. So I always listen, I always imagine what I want to achieve, and then I adjust the touch, because it's the question of the touch. And to master different touches, you can do it. We can do it on one note even. We can try to see how the piano reacts on many different touches. That's how I practice as well. So maybe a little too late, but then it always can be better. It's never perfect. The touch must be very slow, but yet very deep. And then when I master this, then I try to play these hands together. And I have to keep the left hand exactly the same like I worked with it before. It was quite okay. But, and then I repeat it again. As you noticed, I always practice from memory. The piece that I'm preparing for playing in public, I don't practice looking at the score and reading the score. First I memorize the small part and then I'm practicing. For me it is very helpful because my brain gets used to the fact that it had to be played without the score. And then I feel much more relaxed and safe and comfortable when I play it later in public without the score. After this first phrase we have another challenge in the right hand because we have the second voice. We have it's a duet, so we have a man coming. And here it is really, really hard to make the listener realize that these are two different singers. Chopin is helping me because he is writing an accent on the lower note, which means he wants this to be louder. And it's a very good idea. But when I practice that, first what I'm doing is, of course, first I'm just playing each voice separately. Sorry. And then the lower voice. And of course I memorize every voice separately, just like in Bach's fugues. And only then I can try to play it together, but I use two hands at first because they are two different people. So and I'm trying to think what is the best. Sorry. What is the best idea to make it as clear as possible and as beautiful as possible? So first of all, I have to differentiate the sound, the color of two voices. the bottom voice should sound like a man, the upper voice should sound like a woman. So I'm trying to differentiate the touch of these two voices in only one hand, so it's another difficulty. Man's voice I'm playing a little deeper and more intense. The upper voice a little bit lighter and more delicately. And then I decide which voice where is more important. At the beginning, definitely the lower voice, because it's a new one. But here I can show upper voice and then lower voice as well. Again. And upper and lower. So that we kind of hear both of them. When I'm satisfied with that, then I repeat it many times, and then I play it hands together. Again. And then we have the next phrase, which is the dialogue. She is playing, singing, he is answering. Again, of course, first right hand alone and differentiating the touch of her and he and sheep and he. Yes, and that's how I practice, that's how I work on this very beautiful piece of music. So I hope that was interesting for you, and be patient, because soon we will go on with analysis of many other beautiful music. I just need some rest after my very intense concert tour in Norway, which I finished a few weeks ago. So that's the reason why we don't have the typical analysis now. I need to refresh myself, get back to my casual life and have energy for that. And also, as you can see, I'm preparing music for my upcoming concerts. Take care and see you again soon.